Hi, everybody. Welcome back to SaaS Founder Stories. Today I have Christophe Garnier, and he is the co-founder and CEO of Upflex. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, David.
My pleasure. So, tell me a little bit more about Upflex. What do you guys do? Give us a use case and fill us in.
Yeah. So Upflex, a company that's been created in New York about 7 years ago. Um, I think the simplest way to explain what we do is to give this analogy to Airbnb for work. We are aggregating and federating thousands of co-working business centers, executive centers, and other flexible workspaces that are serviced offices, so they are already equipped. And we have 11,000 workspaces in 135 countries in 1,600 cities that we're aggregating. We don't take any inventory, so it's a consignment model, and we are making all those workspaces available to employers via a very simple platform. So employers can give their employees greater flexibility and more workplace choices. And why employers are increasingly interested in this is obviously since COVID, more and more people have been working flexibly and remotely. And with providing flexibility comes a lot of complexities, especially when you have lots of employees. And so Upflex takes those complexities away by making it easy through our technology, through simplified procurement process, to have only one contract with Upflex, one integration, in potential API integration, one application, one billing agreement, and have access to potentially 11,000 locations around the world with only one contract and one app. Yeah. So the obvious use cases, the biggest use case is obviously there are more and more employers out there hiring remote employees, because now it allows to find and attract the talents where they are rather than trying to find talents where your office is. And so we have many of our clients who have now a pretty large contingent of remote employees, and those people usually work from home. And so we provide an alternative to working alone from home to
Hmm.
those employers. So that's one use case. We also have lots of companies who have their teams spread out and not meeting, and not working as a team together enough. And so they leverage one of our locations also on a regular basis to get teams to work together. So those would be some of the typical use cases why our clients are working with Upflex.
So if I just correct me if I'm wrong here, but so if I'm working for you and you give me access to the app and say, hey, if you want to be able to book in to a place to go and work, you do it on this app. Is that kind of like, is that would be, if I was at the worker level, that's how it works?
Yes, absolutely. That's right. That's right.
That's super cool.
Our customers would kind of design their remote policy on their dashboard, and whatever is configured on that employer dashboard as far as who can use what and where, and then with what limits, whether they are geographical limits or budget limits, would be reflected on the employee app and will enable the employees to consume based on what the employer has kind of like.
So that's really cool. So Airbnb for your workforce to find an office to work in. That's
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 right.
super slick.
That
Cool. Wow. Well, that's that. I love that model. I think that's one of the challenges is like people have one, like if you look at a lot of the current models around that remote office, like you say, okay, well, you're in San Francisco and this is the office building, right? This is the workspace that you have available. Where I imagine with you guys, you have, because you have so many properties, I can probably pick and choose a little bit about where or what type of property I want to go to, or I call it a property, but like space that I could go and work in.
Yeah, and we, San Francisco is a very good example of a city where many times the headquarters for a company would be in the city or somewhere in Silicon Valley, but people live across the Bay Area, and our customers leveraging Upflex have the ability to provide their employees with the choice of going to any co-working in the Bay Area rather than going to the HQ.
Very cool. So who do you target? Who's your ideal customer profile that you look for?
So we don't really proactively go after companies that have less than 500 employees. And we service incoming from anyone, but proactively 500 and up. And
Mhm.
we have two targets: the mid cap, what we call the mid cap category internally, so 500 to 5,000, and then the enterprise category, which is 5,000 and up.
That's
Those are the
cool.
two targets we have.
So for you, what's the big challenge that you guys have solved there in the last 6 months that you'd like to share with us and teach us a little bit about?
I don't know if I can teach anything, but with many companies have gone through some a rough 6, 12, 18 months, especially for companies that have raised um, money, and we are potentially planning on doing another round. And that was our case. We had raised $25 million in Series A. We had designed based on this fundraising to raise a Series B.
Hmm.
It's not like we were raising this Series A to uh, to take the company to break even. We were designing the company to grow further. And in that perspective, we were spending a lot of money because we were planning on raising more. Well, that Series B, never happened. Obviously, the VC market collapsed 12 months ago, and so we were burning way too much money, and so we had to right size our company, which has been a very, very difficult process. We had to separate from many people that we really like to work with,
Hmm.
and we had to make the very hard choices in order to save the other half of the company, because we reduced the company by 50%. And it's been really hard, but we learned a lot through the process. And what's been really interesting is to see that the company never stopped growing. We haven't stopped growing. The
Hmm.
company has continued on growing pretty much at the same rate without half the people. That's the big lesson learned. Big lesson learned is, when you raise a certain amount of money and you hire too many people too fast, you don't necessarily need those big teams, and you get carried away with the successes that you've amassed, and then you realize that, back to reality. It's been a it's been a painful process, but we've done a lot, and we've been able to harness the great things that we had learned, and concentrate um, on our strength, and figuring out a way to automate and to optimize everything else that where we needed to really work on. That's, yeah, it's been our it
Hmm.
thing, something like that.
So my question, making that decision must have been very, very challenging because as a founder, it's your baby. You put everything into it. You will never find a person more invested in it. And when you put the effort into building amazing people or bringing amazing people in, and you like pretty much pour your whole essence, heart and soul into it. How did you first realize, hey, we're going to have to do something pretty drastic? And how long did it take you once you realized that to make that decision and start building out a plan of what to do?
I'm an optimist. We have to be optimists as entrepreneurs, right? And I'm very resilient, but I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to do it. And I went around my board. When I mean around, it's like I talked to my entire board multiple times on one-on-one to understand their experiences. And basically I had to accept the fact that the common thread on the discussions I was having with my investors, and half of them are ex-entrepreneurs, was, we've been through this, Christophe, and there is no way you're going to be able to keep everyone if you want to save your business. And you're going to have to, and it's very hard. It's going to be very hard. But if you do it now, you're going to be able to save the company. If you don't do it now, and we're not going to force you, you're putting your company at risk. And so I didn't follow the initial feedback of my investors. I in two phases, rather than shave off half the people. I still believed I could potentially save more, and I couldn't.
Mhm.
So I made it, and in fact, it was a mistake, and it was a mistake because I had two big waves of layoffs instead of one, and I created even more doubts in the heart of my people. So that was a huge mistake and a huge learning. And I hope that that any founder that listens to this will hear this. It's very difficult, to your point, to let go of your company, to your baby, and let go of your people. But it's even worse for them to see multiple waves of layoffs, because you really hurt them bad. And I realize now how bad I hurt them, because the company has been getting killed for doing all those various layoffs and being accused of not knowing what we were doing. But the only thing we were trying to do is to save as many people as we could. But it's difficult for employees to understand that, they can't
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it, because I think what happens is if I come to you and I say, "Hey, you know what? We have to do this because this is what the market's saying, and this is, like this, we're doing this because if we don't, we're just gonna die 1,000 cuts."
That's right.
Um, and
That's right.
and
And
then and
we
then you
and
go and
we're
do it again. It's like you're like, okay, well, I can't believe you. And so,
yeah,
how
that's
did you
right.
recover from that? How did you build?
And well, number one, well, we have. I talked to everyone one on one multiple times. Number
Hmm.
one, um, everybody who left, everybody who stayed, um, and we're still working. We're still working. Everybody's different. Some people are like, okay, let's do it. We believe in the plan. And other people they're going to need more time. They're going to need more proof. And it's a part of my job to gain their confidence. Again, the good news is that, we were able to raise another round. We were able to put, to save for a while,
Yeah.
and we're good. And now we're growing again. So it's been an incredible, it's been an interesting journey the past 18 months, but so have been the last 7 years.
It's full of surprises, eh? It's
Yeah, it's
always
not
full of
finished.
surprises.
It's
Yeah,
still far from
exactly.
finished.
That's amazing.
It's just a new chapter now.
Exactly. So, well, thank you very much for sharing, because I know that's not an easy thing to share, go through, deal with. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it, because I hope that helps other founders when they come to those tough decisions to be able to have just believe in it, that, what, it's better to do it and get it done with than drag it out and freeze in the moment. What's the one thing, if we could help you with anything in the network, that you look for help with now?
Well, I'm like you. I like to meet other founders and chit chat and share experiences. So I would just, encourage other founders to contact me and chat about, the business, about growth, about our people, about all the things that are inherent to building and growing our businesses.
Well, that's perfect, man. Thank you very much for coming on the show. That was really amazing, and I appreciate it. And I hope we get to chat lots more in the future.
Thanks, David.
Have a good one. Bye.
Cheers.